Hurricane season is reaching its peak, and we are still tracking more here. Welcome to another edition of Hurricane Hunt. I'm meteorologist Joe Martucci. On the other side of the screen here, you see meteorologist Sean Sublette in Virginia. Sean, how was Labor Day weekend for you?
It was quiet. My football team won. I got some rest. It got hot here, of course. So I stayed in on Labor Day and actually got some reading done. So it was a pretty quiet Labor Day weekend, which
Cool.
is good because, as we kind of expected, the tropics started to bubble up again. No sooner are we rid of Idalia than we've got more things to worry about.
Yeah, we're continuing the trek towards the peak of the hurricane season. Again, very close with that, Sean. What are we going to be talking about in this episode?
Yeah, earlier on this morning, and this is Tuesday, September 5th, the our colleagues there at the Hurricane Center upgraded this blob of clouds up to Tropical Depression 13 and is in the far distant eastern Atlantic, but this is very likely going to become Tropical Storm Lee in the next 24, 48 hours max. The good thing is that you don't have to worry about it this week at all. It poses no threat at all to the United States coastline through this week and this weekend. So take us through, Joe, how far it is out there from the satellite vantage point.
Yeah, it's as we call it in the weather world, it's a fish storm right now. It's only impacting the fishes out there in the open Atlantic. It's just west of the Cape Verde Islands. It's almost halfway between the west coast of Africa and Barbados on your screen. That's what we're looking for. It definitely has that tropical depression look. It's a cluster of bright white on the satellite. That means a lot of thunderstorms within it. No real, eye to this storm yet, but it's something it's cooking right now. It's definitely cooking. We take a look at the tropical outlook here. Now, there's actually three systems that could become named storms in the next couple of days. We'll focus on the one that says 100% because that could be Lee. That's the one we're mainly going to focus on.
Mhm.
But there is another one that's just coming off the coast of Africa now. That one's more than likely going to become a named storm too. And then you see that yellow area off the coast of Portugal. I mean, it could do something. It's a low chance. More than likely, it's just going to bring some nasty weather to Portugal and west coast of Spain. So if you're flying out there, one, I'm jealous, but two, maybe not the best weather as you go later into the week. Sean, take us through the weather pattern that's kind of driving this all along.
Yeah, we expect whatever that thing is, 13 future lead, to kind of just chug along to the west northwest for another 5 or 6 days. But then the steering wind shift, and this is when it's going to become critical. Not so much this weekend, but then in the first and next week, this big area of high pressure, what we call a ridge, shifts offshore. And you follow the arrows there. That's basically the jet stream winds, but they're not especially strong this time of year. So the key to the forecast with this next system is, are those winds going to be strong enough to effectively turn future Lee back off to shore? So again, this is 6 and 7 days away. So the confidence of that happening is not especially high, but we do feel, I would say, cautiously optimistic. This is not something that's going to make landfall in the United States. But again, we want to say cautiously, it is far too early to just check out on this storm. Take us through the tropical wind field, Joe, as to
Yeah.
how this might play out.
Yeah. So, first thing that we got to focus on is that this is just one computer model run. More than
Yes.
likely, this ain't going to be it, right, Sean?
This is never the right answer. This is, as we say, for demonstration purposes only.
Right, demonstration purposes only. But let's take you forward over the next couple of days and show you. See that area turning into red and purples as we go into the later part of the week. This is probably Lee as a strong tropical storm or a hurricane later this week, taking it north of the Lesser Antilles. And most computer models, to be fair, have it north of the Lesser Antilles. Now, how it interacts with that high pressure and the jet stream that Sean just talked about is going to depend very much on what this track is. But as we get into early next week, talking about swells, rough rip currents again for much of the southeastern coast, even coming up to me here in Jersey.
Mhm.
Local summer, going to be rough again. The question is, how does this turn as we go into Tuesday and Wednesday of next week, the 12th and the 13th? Still many questions out there. Anything from just continued high surf and rip currents in the realm of possibility. We could get tropical storm warnings along the coast. It's just too early to tell. But, if you're right along the immediate coast or you have a second home, just think, maybe once a day. Think, hey, we got something out there. Maybe I should take another check. We'll keep you updated on hurricane hunt as well. And then we have possibly Margot out near Spain, or it could be that other storm we were talking about earlier that's now just rolling off the coast of Africa. Regardless of the computer models, though, one thing we know for certain, Sean, is waters are still toasty.
Yeah, they are. I mean, this is the time of year where they are approaching their maximum, right? So almost all the tropical Atlantic is in excess of about 83, 84 degrees. Gulf is still especially warm. A couple of buoys there showing 86, but some of the slight imagery that we use to track the temperatures show 89, 90 degrees in parts of the Gulf of Mexico. Those are the water temperatures. So that is plenty of energy for tropical systems. And one other thing we do want to emphasize, if this is we're very confident that this is not going to go into the Gulf. Everything suggests that there will be some kind of a hook to the north, but it's not going to make it into the Gulf of Mexico. So New Orleans, Houston, those locations probably are legitimately safe. Climatology, of course, as we've talked about repeatedly, we're just getting to the peak of it. We're in this kind of core 6 or 8 weeks, but the peak of hurricane season, if you want to put it down to just a single day, it's coming up in about a week. This is when most of the tropical systems tend to form, when they tend to threaten the United States the most. And then it's a very slow decrease before it really drops off much more dramatically after the middle of October. But for the next several days, there's no imminent threat. Nonetheless, we have to keep very mindful of what's going on. So take us through some final thoughts, Joe.
Yeah, we're going to watch for rough surf this weekend. We're actually, to be honest, if you're in the Northeast and watching this, we've already continued to see rough
Mhm.
surf into this week. So it's just going to be a long continuation of this. But southeastern coast on the Atlantic side, rough surf for this weekend. Swells are going to build as well here. Better than 50-50 chance that what becomes Lee stays out to sea. And that is good news, of course. But if you're in the Puerto Rico area, Virgin Islands, Bermuda, you know people there, those are places that, hey, chance of a direct hit in the realm of possibility here. So that's where we're gonna, if there's anywhere to focus on a direct landfall, Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, Bermuda, I think more than likely it could actually split the gap and go right in between, and we're fine. I think that's the most likely scenario, but just something to be aware of. So
That's what I'm hoping
yeah,
as well. I
yeah,
mean, even perhaps even the Bahamas, but I get the end point is that it's too early to write it off. Keep paying attention, especially for if you've got interest in those locations in the Lesser Antilles.
yeah.
Yeah.
And we're probably going to do another video on Thursday for you
Oh
on
yes.
this. So be on the
Oh
lookout for
yes.
that. We'll update you as we get into the weekend, show you what's going on here. But this is it. This we have for another edition of Hurricane Hunt. Big thank you to everybody who watched last week. We hope we gave you some
Yes.
crucial information here. That's certainly our job, and Sean and I are happy to do it. For Sean Sublette, I'm meteorologist Joe Martucci. Thanks again for watching Hurricane Hunt. We'll be back with you on Thursday.